So Farbrengen is in honor of Tes-Yud Kislev.
Yeah.
Tes-Kislev being the birthday at the Yom Hillula, the day of the passing of the Mitteler Rebbe, and Yud Kislev is the Yom Hageulah of the Mitteler Rebbe. The Mitteler Rebbe went out of prison a year. The Mitteler Rebbe went out of prison a year before his Istalkos, a year before his passing, on Yud Kislev. Tes Kislev was on Shabbos. The day his birthday was on Shabbos, and he said the Maimer at the Echad. And Motzei Shabbos, he went out of prison. So when we think about the Mitteler Rebbe, so the thing that is mafien, the thing that characterizes the Mitteler Rebbe in the essence of the Mitteler Rebbe, more so than any other Rebbe, was Chassidus. That the Mitteler Rebbe's entire identity was Chassidus, to the point that the Tzemach Tzedek, his son-in-law, said about him that were we to cut the finger of my father-in-law, my shver, instead of blood coming out, Chassidus would come out. There's many stories about the Mitteler Rebbe in his youth, about his dedication and his obsession almost with Chassidus, to the point that without Chassidus he literally got sick. There's an episode of when he was a kid, when he was a child. He already started saying Chassidus as a kid, as a child, saying Chassidus and teaching Chassidus. But there's a Maisa that one time he was sick. He was sick in bed. And he was sick in bed, and he was mamish sick to the point that they were worried about his life, whether for his safety, for his life. So his mother, she came to her husband. She said, maybe after Dovid for your son. Maybe you could daven for your son, the Mitteler Rebbe, that he should be healthy. So the Alter Rebbe, instead of davening for him, the Alter Rebbe went to his bed where he was laying, and he said, "Don't worry, you can come, you can listen to Chassidus." So essentially, what happened is that the Mitteler Rebbe, for whatever reason, he was punished, and he did something that his father wasn't happy about, and as a punishment, his father told him that you can't hear, that you're not allowed to hear Chassidus. You're not allowed to come to the Maimonim. So the central idea of him not being able to hear Chassidus, he became literally physically sick. We see this also during his imprisonment. We see the whole story of the imprisonment. I don't know if we're going to get into all the details, but we know by the Rebbe, by Hey Tevis, the Malshin was buried. The problem came from the family, from his nephew. But by the Mitteler Rebbe it also came from the Mashpia. It came from the family. It came from his cousin. His name was Lipkin. His mother's family. His mother was a Lipkin. And the mother's family, they were jealous. And then Pinchas raises his family, they were also a little bit jealous. So it's interesting that it came both from one of the Alter Rebbe's biggest Chassidim was Pinchas raises, his relative, and from his mother-in-law's family, Lipkin. But when they arrested the Mitteler Rebbe, so initially the plan was to arrest him like they arrested the Alter Rebbe, to take him in the black wagon as a morid b'malchus, so somebody who was rebelled against the government. But being that it was right after the Napoleonic Wars, essentially, and the Alter Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe supported the Tsar in the Napoleonic Wars. So they said, how could you believe that the Halshana, the libel was that the Mitteler Rebbe was also making a revolution against the Tsar? So there was already an absurdity in the essential claim, being that the Alter Rebbe went on serious nefesh. Literally, he endangered his life to support the Tsar. So he said, "Come on, it's not really so realistic." So initially, the way the Mitteler Rebbe went is that they allowed him to go himself. They said they came to Lubavitch and they invited him to come to Vitebsk. Instead of forcing him to go to Vitebsk, they said, "You're invited to go to Vitebsk." They said the way he was going to do it is going to go 3 days. He was going to go resting in he was going to go to every place and he was going to rest and going there. So every place that he went, all the Yidden came out, all the Jews came out, and even all the Goyim, all the non-Jews came out, and they gave salt and bread to the Mitteler Rebbe. And every place where the Mitteler Rebbe was, he said Chassidus. He said Amaim, and he said Chassidus b'shufi in abundance. But the Malshirim Lipkin, he was a little bit upset. He's like, "What do you mean? You're how could you give such a covet, such an honor to Morid B'Malchus? He must have paid off the Goyim in the city to honor him." So the last leg of the journey, they didn't let any Chassidim go. So for 2 weeks, the Mitteler Rebbe was in house arrest until the doctor, how do you spell something? I forget the exact name, but he assessed the Mitteler Rebbe and he said that simply for the Mitteler Rebbe's health, he needs to be able to say Chassidus. For the Mitteler Rebbe's health, he needs to be able to say Chassidus. And he said the same way, if you're not going to give an usher, if you're not going to give somebody food, it's inhumane conditions. It's inhumane not to give even if you're in prison, you can give them food. So the same thing with by the Rebbe, if you don't let him say Chassidus, it's pashut inhumane because his life is dependent on Chassidus. So they gave permission that they gave permission for 50 people to come twice a week, and in prison the Mitteler Rebbe can say Chassidus. In prison, which means in prison he was able to say Chassidus.
In prison or in house arrest?
In house arrest, in prison, it was house arrest. But for the minyan, need to be in a separate room. There was 20 people for a minyan. They were able to come every day. And he was in a separate room. But Chassidus, he was able to say to a minyan of 50 people. And then on the Tes-Yud Kislev, he said the famous mimer, Ata Echad, V'Shimcha Echad, on his birthday. And then the next day he let him go. So that's what we see. We see when he was a child, his whole life was Chassidus. When he was in prison, his whole life was Chassidus. And also his Istalkos, the way he's Istalik, the way he passed away was also with Chassidus. The Tzemach Tzedek said about the Istalkos of the Mitteler Rebbe that from the Shlomo, you can come to the table. I think your father has a place actually. That from Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, from Rashbi, there was never such a Istalkos. It was never a Istalkos like the Mitteler Rebbe. Essentially, what happened? What's the story of his Istalkos? That he went already by his birth when the Mitteler Rebbe was born. So he was born 13 years after the Alter Rebbe. After the Alter Rebbe was married, and the Alter Rebbe already had daughters. He already had 3 daughters, but he always wanted a son. He wanted a son. So he went to the Maggid many times, but he asked for a bracha for a son. And the Maggid always pushed him off. He told him that Freidka, your daughter Freida, she's like a son. She's as good as a son. What do you need a son for? Yeah, Freidka. That even we see the story of the Freidka, she said this herself, and the way he heard her stalkos, she was mamish she's buried right next to she's buried also right next to the Alter Rebbe. She also did stalik in an amazing, miraculous way. But she was mamish a great tzaddik in her own right. But the Alter Rebbe wanted a son. And he went to the Maggid numerous times for a bracha, asking a bracha for a son, and each time kind of pushed it off. The last Shabbos of the Maggid was alive, Chag Hageulah, when he was alive in this world, the Maggid finally gave him a bracha for a son. He told him, he didn't even give him a bracha for a son directly. What he did is he told him the kavanos, he told him the intention that you're supposed to have by a vachnach and a bris. The night before a bris is called a vachnach. You stay up the whole night. He told him the intentions you're supposed to have according to Chassidus for a vachnach and for a bris. So the Maggid he asked Alter Rebbe, how come you're not asking me for the intentions of Shalom Zocher as well? What intentions supposed to have a Shalom Zocher? So he said, I see that the bracha is coming from a level that says loy koim l'shayla. That a level, there's a certain level, the bracha is coming from such a high level, you can't even ask about it. He said, Memela, since it's coming from such a high level, I'm not gonna ask. And he said, it's taka true, it's taka emes, that the bracha is coming from such a high level. And he told him that you can have a son and you should name him after me. You should name him Dovid. And other places said the Maggid said he's gonna have a son that is the Maggid was the neshama of the Mitteler Rebbe. Elsewhere, the Alter Rebbe said that really he wanted to name him Hamnuna, like in the Zoyar, and the Zoyar, one of the people of the Zoyar is Hamnuna Sava. He said he wanted to name him Hamnuna after Hamnuna Sava because his soul, the Mitteler Rebbe's soul, is the soul of Hamnuna, and is one of the Nunei Yama. So what is the Nunei Yama? Nunei Yama is a fish in the sea. That their whole identity is Primus HaTorah. His whole identity was Chassidus. So he really wanted to name him Hamnuna, but because the Maggid told him to name him Dovid, he named him Dovid. Well, you see that the whole Metzios of the Alter Rebbe of the Maggid of the Mitteler Rebbe was bored by the bracha of the Maggid, and he said the Alter Rebbe said after the birth by the Vachnach, the Medel Haradach came and Avram Kalisker came, and he said that just like by Chana only was blessed with the son after he asked for a bracha, right? After she begged the Eibishter, so Shmuel only lived to 52 years. So he said, I'm trying to be poiled that he should live longer than Shmuel. But he poiled Mamash, he lived 54 years. He lived 54, so 2 years longer. But how was he nostalgic? So he was in the Maggid, the Mitteler Rebbe went. He visited Haditch. He went to Haditch. His father was buried in Haditch. And when he was in Haditch, he said he asked when he came out of the oil in Haditch, out of his father's burial place. He said, I asked by my father to release me from my job, and I wanted to get a release from being a Rebbe. He said, I'm not going to be Ois Rebbe. So the Chassidim understood that he had a plan. He wanted to go to Eretz Yisrael. They thought he wanted to go to Eretz Yisrael. But so they said, well, now what's going to be? You're not going to leave us without a Rebbe. He said, don't worry. There's my son-in-law, the Tzemach Tzedek. He's good enough. He said, we're not going to let you go. But on his way back from Haditch to Lubavitch, he got sick. And he got sick, and he was so sick that they didn't want to stop in one of the villages. So they stopped in Yezhin. Yezhin at that time was more or less a bigger city in comparison. And he was sick in bed in Yezhin, and the doctors came to him. And the doctors, when they were in Yezhin, when they checked him, they said they don't understand how he's alive. And somebody in this condition, he should be dead. If you look at the Toras Chaim, his son Menachem Nochem printed, so it says over there that when he said Chassidus at that time, his body was cold. He was like dead, but he was still saying Chassidus. So the doctor said that what gives him life is Chassidus, because all the other previous times, whenever he was sick, he said Chassidus, he got healthy. They thought, okay, say Chassidus, it'll become healthy. So they asked him to say Chassidus. So the doctor told him, you're allowed to say Chassidus. And he got up in bed and taka more strong. And he said he's going to say a maimer. And he says, I'm going to say something that the world has yet to hear a gilu like this. The world has yet to hear revelations like this. And everybody crowded around, all the Chassidim crowded around, until one Chassid, he was standing, and his hat fell off. And his hat fell onto the Mitteler Rebbe's bed, on top of the Mitteler Rebbe. The Mitteler Rebbe said, it's a sign from heaven that I shouldn't say what I was planning on saying. But he said, I'm going to say another mimer. And from that he passed with the Stalik 6 days later. But every day, the whole day, he said I'm a different mimer every day. But the Mitteler Rebbe mimer, when the Mitteler Rebbe said Chassidus, it was like a river. He said he say Chassidus for 23 hours, which is why the Markel, the son of the Markel, Rabbi Yehuda Levi, was called the Stender. He was called the lectern. Why was he called the lectern? Because one time the Mitteler Rebbe was saying Chassidus in the Chaser, in the courtyard of Lubavitch, and he was saying Chassidus for so long, 10 hours, 15 hours, and he had nothing to lean on. So he leaned on his grandson, the Markel. So from then it was called the Stender. So he was saying Chassidus the whole day. So he said he was saying Chassidus until for 6 days. He said Chassidus until Tes-Yud Kislev. Around the end of the night, the other Chassidim had left. There was the only people who were there was Menachem Nochem, his son Menachem Nochem, and the Masharis, and one of the attendants. And he was saying Chassidus. When he got to the pasuk, he said, when he got to the pasuk, in the pasuk it says Chaim, when he said the word Chaim, the Neshama left him, and it became Tzarur, became united with the Tzarur Chaim, which is literally, if you read the Ida Zuta, the Ida Rabba, the Ida Zuta, the way the Rashbi was the Stalik, also was a similar thing. He called in 7 Talmidim, and there were 7 Talmidim, there were 7 students, and he also said, I'm going to say things that nobody in the world has yet to hear, nobody in the world has never heard such things. And he said Torah on by Rashbi, the Neshama went out with the word Torah. The word Torah, the Neshama went out. But after that, by the Mitteler Rebbe, the Neshama went out with the word Chaim. So you see with the Mitteler Rebbe that his whole identity throughout his whole life, from birth, from childhood, from imprisonment, from till his death, his whole identity was mamish, was Chassidus, was saying Chassidus, speaking Chassidus, and talking Chassidus. The Mitteler Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek, I think I mentioned, the Tzemach Tzedek said that if you would cut his finger, blood wouldn't come out, Chassidus would come out. If you would cut the fingers of the Mitteler Rebbe, the Chassidus would come out. That was his whole Motzei. The whole Motzei was Chassidus. But it wasn't only that the Mitteler Rebbe at the lady costume, not only the Mitteler Rebbe himself, his whole identity was Chassidus, but the Mitteler Rebbe, Chassidus, he wanted Chassidus from everybody. Which means it's the most famous thing, whenever all the Tes-Yud Kislev Farbrengen, all the Tes-Yud Kislev Farbrengen, the Rebbe, Beis, Motzei, Achei, all the six. If you look at all the Farbrengen, the Rebbe would always mention the word that the Mitteler Rebbe wanted. The Mitteler Rebbe wanted was as a zwei junge Leute, but treffen in Mark, when 2 junge Leute, when 2 they meet in the marketplace. They should speak. There's different gersois, there's different versions of the story, but either they should talk about Atik and Arich, they should talk about the levels of Keser, or they should talk about Yichudi Ilah, Yichudi Tata, Soivav and Mamala. Oh, they should talk about it, and even the Rebbe talked about it, they should talk about Yichudi Ilah. They should talk about how there's nothing else besides God. That's what Chassidim want. That's what you want from Chassidim. You want from Chassidim that when they talk in the marketplace, that their reality, that the reality of the Chassidim, not the reality of the Chassidim while they're in the base medrash, but the reality of the Chassidim not in the base medrash, the marketplace should also be Chassidim. The Rebbe once pointed out in this vart that the Chassidim should Chassidic and Mark, they should talk Chassidim. The Rebbe pointed out that the B'derech Klal, when the Rebbe said Zol Redin Chassidim, the Rebbe makes the point that the Rebbe makes various points about it, but the Rebbe points when you say, when 2 people talk Chassidus, in general, each of them are at different levels. So you have the guy who knows what he's talking about, and the guy who doesn't know what he's talking about, right? So that's how it usually works. The guy talk with one guy, he knows what he's saying, and the other guy doesn't know what he's saying so much, or they both don't know what they're saying. That's more common. But the Rebbe points out, the point was the way the Rebbe speaks about it. It's not that you should know what you're talking about. It's not that, I know what I'm talking about. I know Chassidus, I'm going to go talk to Chassidus. No, that's not the point. The point is that my reality. What am I going to talk about? Is there something else to talk about? What the Mitteler Rebbe wanted, that the same way that in Pittsburgh you talk about the Steelers. No, it's not Lahadl. It's the same point. It's the same point. What? Because it does let me. What are you talking? We talk about what the thing they're involved in. People talk about Biden, the politics, whatever's happening. You talk about, right? So for the Mitteler Rebbe Chassidim, the Mitteler Rebbe wanted that's what's happening. What's live? What's happening between what's tutzich, what's machstu is should be. Oh, where are you holding in the mind? I'm holding yichudi law. I'm holding yichud. That should be your reality. The Mitteler Rebbe said that a similar verse that Rebbe always quoted. The Mitteler Rebbe wanted that his chassidim should be bucky, should know keser, like they know their hands, like the same way you know their it's boys, the same way you know your fingers, the same way you know your hands. You should also know keser. Which means, it's a crowning achievement. It would be a crowning achievement. But what's the point? The Alter Rebbe once said about the Mitteler Rebbe. He said, "Ich hab gemeint." He said, the Alter Rebbe said, "Ich hab gemeint." I thought all my chassidim would be like Besher, but like my Besher. I thought all my chassidim would be like my Besher. Who's Besher? The Mitteler Rebbe was called Besher. What was his nickname? Said, and my Besher, he would be like I know that he should be. Which means, let's chat. Which means it's normal. Which means it's not. Which means what the Mitteler Rebbe wanted or the Alter Rebbe wanted. It's not that you have some sugar there like Markel. He sits and he learns Chassidus. No, that was fine. That's very. This
Sugar for sure, right?
The city of sugar that learns Chassidus. But the point is, but Adra, which means that there's nothing more normal to talk about. What's there to talk about? What else are you going to talk about? What else is there? It says by the Vart that the Rebbe brought once, and the Fidik Rebbe brought. That by the Chassidim that the Chassidim of the Frierdiker Rebbe, of the Mitteler Rebbe, they didn't need Mashiach. They didn't need Mashiach. For them, they weren't lacking Mashiach. Why? Because they were already there. They were already Mashiach. They were already living in the reality of Mashiach. Why? Because what's Mashiach? We know everybody will open the Rambam before. So we have the Rambam start Yesaydi Amud HaChochmos, right? The essence of everything is the Eibusher. Yud Kei Vav Ki Yesaydi Amud HaChochmos. How does Rambam end? Rambam ends with what Mashiach? Mashiach is Lo Ye'esa Kol HaOlam Kuloi El Ladas Zavai Bil. The whole that the world, the sole occupation of humanity will be to understand God, the knowledge of God. Being that will be the sole occupation. Therefore, we'll understand Bar Mastumen. We'll understand the secrets of Yesigudas Boirom Kefi Koyach Adam. We'll understand the Creator as much as man could understand. But you can already do that. You can already do that now. The Rebbe, there's a Sicha, it's a Tes-Yud Kislev Sicha. But as we know that Tes Kislev is a chana for Yud Tes Kislev, that it says that the Rebbe Friedrich brings in Hatamim that Yud Kislev is like the birth of a chassid. That's the birth, that's the Leida, and Yud Tes Kislev is the bris of a chassid. So it's and all the farbrengs that they have, a lot of farbrengs that they have. When the Rebbe talked to Yud Kislev, Rebbe said, what Yud Kislev? Yud Kislev is like a chana, is a preparation for Yud Tes Kislev. We start talking about Chassidus now, but what? Kind of Rebbe. Amen. So we make a break? Stop. I should stop. Okay, you're the MC. You're the. I should stop. Is that good?
No,
You sure you want to sing a nigga? Say. You're the pro. Whatever you want me to sing it, just tell me to be quiet. You look at him. Thank you for coming. Thank you for honoring us. So the nigga,
It's not bad. Most farbrengs, you don't have a producer. It tells you when to cut the commercial, what to do. It's solid, very, you know.
yeah. So the nigga we just saw the song is the Capella. The Capella is the Mitteler Rebbe, as opposed to all other Rebbeim, I think. But Marash a little bit.
We did a Shabbos, a shtickle Capella, but not so organized like this.
But by the Mitteler Rebbe, he had a special choir, and I think they had music also. Music and a choir. And they would produce songs and they made songs. So the Tzemach Tzedek once asked, a Chassid once asked the Tzemach Tzedek, why is it that Yeshua by the Mitteler Rebbe they had a kapella, and by the Alter Rebbe they didn't have a kapella? Like, why was what's up with a kapella? Why did he need a kapella? Why did he need a choir? Why did he need a concert? Why did he need a symphony? Why did he need a symphony? So it gets into it gets into the crux of one of the things that characterized the Mitteler Rebbe that was different than the Alter Rebbe, and what is the tightness against the Mitteler Rebbe. Just to get into the short, what are the differences between after the Alter Rebbe was the Stalik, after the Alter Rebbe was the Stalkos? So there was a little bit of a contention over the throne. There was the Mitteler Rebbe, the son, and there was also Reb Aaron Alevi Horowitz. Aaron Alevi, Reb Adela of Sashela. So Reb Adela of Sashela, Aaron Alevi Horowitz. So he was a Talmud of the Alter Rebbe. There was a little bit of it's not so clear exactly what he came. He came either 11 or 15, depending on the Nuschai. So he came very young to the Alter Rebbe, and the Alter Rebbe took him in like a son. Took him in mamish like a son. He was able to go to Chiddush whenever he wanted, and he was even the Chavrusa of the Mitteler Rebbe. They one time the Mitteler Rebbe, the Ma'aleh, they were once walking outside, and somebody said about them, said, "Oh, train rain the lay mispaja." Two friends that they don't separate, two inseparable friends. So the Alter Rebbe said, "Halavai the lay mispaja." I wish they would never separate, but they in the end they separated. They only separated the lifetime of the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe actually kicked Markel out of the Yadi because of fighting with Markel. He was saying the Chassidic, and he sent them away for a couple of years. And during that time, the Alter Rebbe was nostalgic. But the Markel, there was various things that he didn't that people were either uncomfortable with the Mitteler Rebbe, and what people gravitated more towards Reb Adela. That Reb Adela, he spoke more in the style of the Mitteler Rebbe, of the Alter Rebbe, in the sense that Reb Adela was a very emotional person. That always at the end of he would say a maimer, and he would get up on the table and say, "I swear there's an Lubavitch." He would start screaming and jumping on the table and stuff like that. In Pittsburgh, they would throw him out, but in Sashela they were able to handle it. But there was someone the Alter would say, "My money would do." If you know the story, he would roll on the floor. That's what one of the things the Mitteler Rebbe said about Reb Adela. How does Reb Adela know what my father said? Because Reb Adela, he was going crazy himself. He was going nuts. When the Alter would say this, he would be jumping and whatever, huh? His role model. But he said, but Mitteler Rebbe, the Alter would roll on the floor, he would go after, but here, what they would call the Rashi letters of the Alter Rebbe. But he said he doesn't know what my father said. He wasn't able to hear. He was going nuts. So that was one of the things. So the stylistic, at least externally, he seemed to be like, oh, these guys also, the mirror image. He's doing the same shtick. He's doing the same. But by the way, that's what there was a Chassid Moshe Valenker that he saw by him was a shtick. There was a Chassid Moshe Valenker. He initially went to the Markel, and the Markel got on the table. And he saw in the middle of going on the table, he lost his spinals. He already he lost the inspiration. Huh? It fizzled out, but he's not. He was already standing at the table. He's not going to get down. He's kept on going. So Moshe Valenker told him, "Ayala, Yapuntir." He said, "Ayala, get off the table." And he got up, and Moshe Valenker got up, and he went back to the Mitteler Rebbe. So some people the Mitteler Rebbe accepted, some people the Mitteler Rebbe didn't accept. But Moshe Valenker accepted him. He got him to come back. But so stylistically, there was a certain similarity. What was the difference? The difference, there was two differences. One difference is that the Ripui Chassidus, when the Mitteler Rebbe said Chassidus, he said with a breakkeit. Says that they say that the word that Mitteler Rebbe had gemacht von a word a kvart. That from one word of the Alter, one word of the Alter Rebbe, he made it a kvart, he made it a cup. He took one word. If you look at Teres Chaim of the Mitteler Rebbe, he takes one page and turns. By the Mitteler Rebbe, it's 30 pages. Mamish, it's the same exact mimer, the same nakuda, the same thing. But from one word, he turns into 30 pages. So one thing that people like, what he's saying so much. And the second thing, which was a it was a bigger taina, is that the Mitteler Rebbe, he spoke much higher. The Alter Rebbe, when he spoke about Atzilos, a little bit of Keser. He didn't really speak. He told that's what he spoke. He spoke to Keser. You look in Torah, he doesn't really talk about open Ayin Beis. It talks. It's the whole Ayin Beis is about. You're starting with the darkness of Atik and the levels of Keser, and 100 pages about it itself, right? That's not that. It wasn't the style of the Alter. You don't see that the Alter Rebbe is my mind. Alter Rebbe, Atzilus is high enough. Or talk Achei, talk a little bit. He talk a little bit higher. So you mention it, but not in detail. But the Mitteler Rebbe, he went into Pittsburgh learned Shah Yichud of the Mitteler Rebbe. So if you open the Shah Yichud of the Mitteler Rebbe, already in Perek Yud, it talks about Eir itself. It talks about there's Yochi, there's Echod, Kadmoin, right? There's 3 levels, and then he says what's Kadmoin? He says that in Kadmoin, he says there's 10 spheros. There's 10 spheres in Kadmoin. There's Derech Prat. There's details in it. In Eretz, he talks about the details of Eretz. He says these are the details. In Eretz, there's essence spheres of Eretz. So if you learn his Shari HaYuchud, so he writes his whole Akdam is the whole Akdam over there, and his whole Akdam, the preface of the Seshela, is basically an antithesis, a thesis, an antithesis against the Mitteler Rebbe's gang, against the whole Chassidus of the Mitteler Rebbe. And it brings tightness from Sfarim, from everywhere. It says that you're not allowed. There's certain levels. Kesser like koyim l'shayla. You can't go ask about it. You can't talk about it. You can't. It says in Sfarim everywhere. You're not allowed to talk about these things. And here you're talking about the details of wait. So how can you talk about the details? Say details of very stuff. You look at the chiluk. If you learn the Torah of the Seshela, his most popular word is the most popular. His whole point of the Seshela is like, we can't understand. It's amazing how much we can't understand. It's amazing we can't understand. But the other levels that you can't understand by the Seshela, the Mitteler Rebbe explains in Pitei Protius. So that was the main taina. So what does it do with the Kapelia? So that was the question. The question was we're talking about the Kapelia. So the Tzemach Tzedek said the reason why I need a Kapelia, the reason why I needed a cause, because since he was talking about such high levels, so in order that he shouldn't have klois hanefesh, in order that when he's talking about such a high level, his soul shouldn't go out of his body. So that was the purpose of the Kapelia. The purpose of the Kapelia was to keep him grounded. Not that it was to keep him grounded. It says the Tzemach said the Tzemach Tzedek had the wagon driver of the Tzemach Tzedek was what did he say? It was a Rebbe. He stayed over from the Mitteler Rebbe. He was approved by the Mitteler Rebbe, and then he went to the Tzemach Tzedek. But he once told the Tzemach Tzedek, "You're not a real tzaddik." Told the Tzemach Tzedek, "You're not a real Rebbe." He said, "You're shrei." He was a real Rebbe, but you're not a real Rebbe. He said, "Why?" He said, "When we were driving often, I would ask him to give me a couple bucks so I could go get some mashke. And he would give me money. But first of all, he never asked for change. And he never, the denomination he would give, he said, can I give you money for mashke? Give him $100. Give him 100 rubles. So it was clear that he had no idea what money he's giving him, what denomination it is. That's what he didn't know. He didn't know money, the value of money. He didn't know that this is $100, is $50. They didn't really have any perspective of physicality. So he needed the nigid to keep him in this world, even though it's a little bit of a stira. One of the things that the Rebbe speaks about in the Beis, that what was Mashpia, what's the thing that characterized the Mitteler Rebbe? What characterized the Mitteler Rebbe different than all the other Rebbeim? That the Mitteler Rebbe his Yom Hillula and his Yom Stalkus was the same day. Right? He was born on the same day, and he was Stalk on the same day. So what's the idea of the birth of the Stalkus being on the same day? So it comes from the by Moshe Rabbeinu. It says that filling the days of the year. That shows what does it show? It shows that his ruchnius, his tzadikkeit, his spirituality was expressed in his gashmias, was expressed in his physicality. And the whole, if you learn the base of this week of Vayetze, of Tes-Yud Kislev, the whole point of the sikha there, the whole long sikha, speaks about Charan and Yaakov being in Charan, and the Vayislach, a whole arichos, and bring out what's the point over there? The point, the whole arichos of the sikha, that the tachlis, what's the tachlis of Chassidus, what's the tachlis of Ruchnius, what's the tachlis of what's the true fulfillment of godliness is not when your epis of mufshit from Olam Haza, that your godliness is in a way that your world is one thing and your spirituality is another thing. No, the tachlis of spirituality is that they're not two different worlds. Right? They're the world of the physical and the world of godliness. It's the same thing. And the Rebbe brings out the point that this was specifically expressed by the Mitteler Rebbe. Which means because by the Mitteler Rebbe, he was the stalik 54 years to the day of his birth. Now, if you think about it, it's in our grubba eyes, in our physical perspective, it's opposite. What do you mean? Ramarash, he know Olam Haza. You know how to have big windows and chariots and horses and gold chains. And you know Olam Haza. The Rebbe knew Olam Haza. The other Rebbe knew Olam Haza. The Mitteler Rebbe knew Olam Haza. It doesn't even make sense. The Mitteler Rebbe knew Olam Haza. But who in the Kuda? That's the point. We look at Olam Haza as a bowl of Mendel Markel's chicken soup, if you could call it that. The Alter Rebbe, the Mitteler Rebbe, the Emes understood Olam Haza. He really understood Olam Haza. He understood tachlis of Olam Haza. What's Olam Haza? Olam Haza is Einen Muvadai. Olam Haza is when two when two people they meet in the marketplace. Right? When they meet in the marketplace, which means it's not that they meet in the base measures. They're in Olam Haza. Which means what the Mitteler Rebbe wanted is that we should mahapech the marketplace. That our marketplace, which means what's our reality? What's the only thing we rant about? What's the only thing we koch it? What's the only thing we can talk about? Eibishter. Talking to me about the dollar bill, I have no idea what you're talking about. Why? Because that's not Olam Haza. That's tam sheker. That's tam hevel avol makol hevel. What's Olam Haza? What's the Olam Haza that it's yesh lakim? What's the true Olam Haza that lasts forever? That's Ein Mulvad. That's there's nothing else besides Eibishter. Which means because that's what Mashiach is. Mashiach is going to come. That's where we're going to get the real. We're going to come confronted with real Welt. Right? And what are we going to do for Dunna Allah from Yom Hillula? What are we going to do for eternity? We're going to sit and we're going to talk about God. So L'chaim, I think it's a we're getting a feel for it. So we should realize what is Olam Haza. What's it all about? So L'chaim, we should be inspired a little bit. It's good stuff, right? Good stuff. Nafshi mikrov Yes, Markel the Yeshiva Kadam Zela. Yes, Markel the Yeshiva Kadam Zela. So we brought the vote before. The vote that the Friedrich Rebbe says in Lekuti the Burim and Tmimim, there's a similar vote that in Tmimim the Friedrich Rebbe says that Yud Kislev, Tes Kislev is the birth of a Chassid, and Yud Tes Kislev is the bris milah of a Chassid, is the circumcision of a Chassid. In Lekuti the Burim, the Friedrich Rebbe says that Yud Kislev is like the first day of Sukkot, and Yud Tes Kislev is Simchas Torah. It's a similar idea, but so if you think about it, it doesn't really make any sense. I mean, it's a bit perplexing. I don't know if it doesn't make any sense in some sense, but it's a bit perplexing. Why? Because one of the things we know is that something that Rebbe was speaking about is that when we get to a Yom Tov, when we get to a day on the Jewish calendar, So it says the Rebbe would always used to bring the word Hayamim ha'elo niskorim nasim. These days are remembered and nasim. And the word from the Arizal that through niskorim it's nasim. Which when we take the time to commemorate the day, we literally effectuate the day. It's not only we're celebrating that something happened in the past, but it's happening. It's happening right now. Right? Like the Rebbe is always to bring the word for the Baal Shem Tov. If you read the Megillah as lemafreya, which means the literal translation, you read it backwards. You start from the end of the story, but according to the Megillah, lemafreya also means that if you read the Megillah as something that happened in history, historical commemoration, it happened. If Megillah happened once upon a time, something that happened, it needs to be something in our present, that we're experiencing Megillah, we're experiencing Chanukah, we're experiencing Yud Kislev, experiencing Tes-Yud Kislev, something that's happened in the present, which means it's a Geula that's not only happened, but happening, which means, what does the Geula mean? Well, we're talking about Geula, what's the redemption? So we know Bichlal about the tzaddikim, and it says about the Alter Rebbe, the Rebbe speaks about the Mitteler Rebbe, that when they went to prison, they went to prison maybe for there was Ila, there was physical circumstances that caused them to end up in prison, but that's not the reason that they were in prison. The reason they were in prison was some sort of spiritual event, something sort of spiritual thing that happened that caused him to be in prison. So we know what was the reason for the Alter Rebbe being in prison. The Alter Rebbe was saying Chassidus in a way that told that time it was considered, wow, this is spreading Chassidus, or printing Chassidus. Now, in the 14 years that the Mitteler Rebbe was Rebbe, he printed more volumes of Chassidus than the Alter Rebbe printed in 40 years, including the writings of the Alter Rebbe. He printed Torah Oil, Torah. He added the Tanya. Printed the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. He printed even the out of his father's works. He printed way more, but even his own works, he printed at least 10 svarim during his lifetime. And that besides, he would write to Chassidim. He would send them his own. He would write and send them the Ksav Yad. He would send them his own handwriting before it got printed. That's actually how we have the Imrei Bina, is because he would send a lot of the Imrei Bina. He sent it to Chassid in Eretz Yisrael. There's a Chassid in Eretz Yisrael. The name is Moshe Yitzchak or something. Moshe and yeah, of Yasi. Maybe it's of Yasi. No, maybe it's somebody else. But maybe that's a different story. That's with the teacher of the Ruzha there. That's the story with the Apte. But there was somebody else. Maybe Kumei was him. But he didn't want to leave. He didn't want to. He's going to leave. I'm not going to hear Chassidus. The Rebbe said, "Don't worry, I'll send you Chassidus." And he used to send him. He said to him Chassidus, and that's where the Pirush HaMilos come from, and a lot of the Imrei Bina comes from. Why? Because by the Rebbe Rashab, the Ksavim, and they found the Ksavim, but there was a million Ksavim that were lost. In general, most of the Ksavim of the Mitteler Rebbe were lost. We have tons of stories of the Mitteler Rebbe, but by the Mitteler Rebbe was in the Stalik in Yezhin. At that moment, a fire fell on his desk and it burnt his whole desk, which was also there was tons of this on his desk. He wrote so much and so quickly to write onto the desk. And most of the Mitteler Rebbe's Ksavim, most of the Rebbe's writing were burnt, including almost Kamat all of his Ksavim and Nigla. Most of all his Nigla was burnt. All we have left is a little bit on Evan Ezra. But most of it from Shalos Teshuvos. But most of it is burnt. We don't have anything from Mitteler Rebbe. It's a pellet. We have tons of the Mitteler Rebbe, but we have nothing for the Mitteler Rebbe.
A fraction of what was.
A fraction of what was. Getting to the point. What was that? Oh, so what? So the Mitteler Rebbe. So what was that? So the Kitrug. So we know that why was the Alter Rebbe in prison? Because of a Kitrug, right? So what was the Kitrug? There was a Kitrug on not to say Chassidus till a certain amount. Right? And then the Mitteler Rebbe, he was saying way more, like we said before. He was saying first quantitatively, he was saying his Chassidus was with much more verbosity, which we would say in Choyves Hanar, we would take ton of Chassidus. And qualitatively, he would talk way higher. Right? We're talking about the Holy Mepino in itself, the levels of it itself. The pratim of Spheres is talking higher and talking more. So there was another kitrug. Right? So how could you say that the kitta that what's the word of the Friedrich Rebbe? The Friedrich Rebbe says what? The Friedrich Rebbe says that Yud Kislev is achana for Yud Kislev. Yud Kislev is a preparation for Yud Kislev. Yud Kislev is the birth. Yud Kislev is the bris. So first of all, besides the fact that chronologically
seems mafreya,
it doesn't make any sense, right? Chronologically, Yud Kislev came first, right? Yud Kislev became first. What? Yeah. Right after that, but Yud Kislev is Mitteler Rebbe. But not only that, it Teuchen, what we're celebrating now, what's the celebration? The celebration, what are we celebrating? We're celebrating by the Alter Rebbe. There was a kid that, even after the Alter Rebbe left, after he left Pittsburgh, so he asked the Baal Shem, the Baal Shem was there, the Maggid was there, and they told him the reason for the kid. So he said, "Why am I in prison?" He said, "Because there was a kid. You're saying Chassidus so much, so and therefore there's a kitrug. Therefore there's a decree." So he said, "Should I stop?" So he said, "No, you shouldn't stop. Once you started, you should continue." By the Mitteler Rebbe, there's a kitrug after that. What do you mean? Everything that told the Mitteler Rebbe is progressive. Why? Because he was doing more. He was saying more. He was spreading more. Right? And he demanded from everybody to spread more. One of the things that the Mitteler Rebbe, he made various takanas. He instituted various things. He made various decrees. First of all, there should be a Chabad Nitzia, that in every shul, they should have a Cheder Sheni. They should have a separate room for Oivdim. That's why they have this. This room is the room of the Oivdim.
Junior minion.
Huh? They should have a room for the Oivdim. He said also, he made it one of the countries you shouldn't get it even down with Mistag, not to even go to Mistag the shuls. But and if you hear Ketushi, the whole thing, if you want to hear Ketushi, you want to hear Kisatayra, the whole thing. But also not to get into argument with Mistag unless that their intent is to become Chassidim. But another thing with the second is that every place where a Chassid goes, it actually comes to Lubavitch. It would come to Lubavitch for 2 months, 3 months out of the year. So when you go home, every place you stop, you just say Chassidus. He worked actively in the spreading of Chassidus. The Mitteler Rebbe had a lot of firsts. First of all, there's a lot of things that Rebbe speaks about that. He was the first thing. He was the first Rebbe who printed Chassidus in Yiddish. Rebbe used to always speak about how the Friedrich Rebbe, one of the things, the Friedrich Rebbe, he printed in the Shivim L'Shonim. He printed in Yiddish, he printed in German, in English. But the first to print Chassidus in Yiddish was the Mitteler Rebbe. He printed the Pekech Ivrim. For Shleima, what was his name? Shleima something. Shleima Yosef. No, Yosef was the Balagala. The Balshuva was Shleima Leib.
That's the Achei.
The Achei was for they say it was for the other. That's a different story. That's a story outside of it. But for the Shleima of the Balagala story, was Der Achei was good. But it's a simple book. The story Yosef is.
It's simple. Go try doing it.
That's good. The Mitteler was thinking said about it. A skull, get like a scholar, godly thought, and then it said, Ibn says, get like a fun. What is a scholar? Anyway, but there's a story. Just instead of getting into the pulling, the story with the Moshe Yitzchak of Yassi. This Moshe Yitzchak of Yassi, he was a Melamed of the Ruzhiner's children. The Ruzhiner was a grandson of the Maggid, and he had a Lubavitcher Melamed. Right? A Melamed, the Melamed of his children was this Chassid Moshe Yitzchak of Yassi. So this Moshe Yitzchak, so he was a big Chassid of the Mitteler Rebbe. So the Mitteler Rebbe said you need to say every place you need to go. You need to say Chassidus. So this Moshe Yitzchak, the Moshe Yitzchak, he did it to the T. And every place he went to this. So when he got to Apta, he went into the shul over there. And he said Chassidus, saying Chassidus, tip of Maimer. And then the Oiv Yisrael came out. The Oiv Yisrael, he came out and he said, Hagam lichbeit is a malkov ani baboyis. Are you gonna say Chassidus while I'm here? Because the Apta was one of the he was on the side of the Baruch vegetable. That not to say Chassidus Peshufi, that not to say a lot of Chassidus. Then you're saying Chassidus in this style, in what I'm here? They cursed him. He said, you're not going to be Motzei Shana. He says, you're going to die this year. So this Chassid, he didn't care. He said, I'm doing what the Rebbe wanted. But he said, in the middle of the year, he started getting weak. And his legs started swelling. And he realized he's losing all his energy is leaving his body. So he realized that it's probably because of this curse. He started worrying a little bit. So there was a woman there who was sick, and he asked him to go to Lubavitch. Asked out for a bracha, so he got permission. And he said, as he was going on the wagon, he said, the wagon, go as quick as you can. And there was this beggar on the side of the road trying to hitch a ride. So this beggar was trying to get into the Moshe Yitzchak's wagon, and the wagoner said, "I pick him up." So he said, "No." So not only did he pick up, he saw there was another wagon that went ahead of him, but he didn't ask for a ride. But this wagon all of a sudden asking me for a ride. But there was an old beggar, and the guy, and with the wagon driver swerved around him, but the beggars ran after him. This beggar ran after him, and he started climbing onto the wagon. So this Moshe Yitzchak, he found a stick in the thing, and he bashed him he knocked him off the wagon. He knocked him off the wagon, and he said that this beggar was the Malach HaMavos himself. So the Malach HaMavos himself. At the end of his life, the same beggar, he saw him climbing over the wall. But anyway, I'll get to the end of the story. But he went to the Mitteler Rebbe, and he said, and they told him the story. So the Mitteler Rebbe asked him, "Did you curse him out? Did you say anything? Did you know where?" I said, "I didn't even know where I was. I was just, I had no idea." He said, "Chassidus." He said, the Mitteler Rebbe was he tipped and thought a little bit. He thought about it a little bit. He said, You'll outlive him. He said, outliving this guy's an old man. But what's the point? The Abdu was already old. He said, you'll outlive his sons. So the Moshe Yitzchak he saw was the Ace Ratzah. He said, more? He said, he'll outlive his grandsons. Outlive his grandchildren. He thought he lived till he was 90, this Moshe Yitzchak. And at the end of his life, he once came back. He was walking in his garden, and he came back, and he said, "Okay, I'm going to say Kriya Shema, and let's get on with the show. I'm going to die." So he said, "Why?" He said, "I was in the garden, and I saw this beggar with this limping beggar climbing over the wall. The same guy. Like I know this guy." And he said that was just after the last of the Apta's grandchildren passed away. He said. I'm not going to let him kill me. I'm going to go to my Rebbe's on my own terms. He laid in bed. He lied in bed, said Shema, and he died. But so we see the Mitteler Rebbe. He worked. Also another thing that the Rebbe points about the Rebbe that he was so into spreading Chassidus that he would sell the Chassidus for mamash cheap. For like a few kopecks, he would sell a mimer for. The mimer went for a few kopecks, and not a whole story. He would sell half a book, half a contrast, sell it for as cheap as possible. That a bee that people should learn Chassidus. And right, if you look at the Hakdamas of his books, he always writes that that I have no other interest. Nothing interests me except for that give divrei likim chayim, the word of God to. He'll do anything as long as people are learning Chassidus. Give it free, practically. Give it dirt cheap, half. He'll send it to you. You want a copy? He'll write you a mimer and send it to you in the mail. Just learn Chassidus. So what's the question? So getting back to what the question. The question was, if already the Mitteler, what are we celebrating? We're celebrating the outpouring of Chassidus. We're celebrating that Chassidus, right? As the next step, right? We're celebrating the next step. We're celebrating after the Alter Rebbe was arrested, spread the Chassidus. And then the Mitteler Rebbe did so much more spreading Chassidus at a higher level. So then how could this be the hachana? How could this be the preparation for Tes-Yud Kislev? But I think Rabbi Silverman taught me that they shouldn't talk about it.
It's a commercial break.
Commercial break. The build is it.
Yeah. By the way, a word from our sponsors, which could be you. We have this farbrengen, we have Mitteler Rebbe farbrengen coming up with Tes-Yud Kislev, all the shuls together, Lubavitch Center, Chassidic, and Chabad of Squirrel Hill, Mitteler Rebbe Chabad of Monroeville, young Chabad, young professionals, Chabad, on Tuesday night, which as of now it looks like I'm sponsoring. If I'm sponsoring, it's going to be hot dogs again. So anybody, we have Hanukkah coming up, the natives, mitzvah tanks, and different things. So we invite everybody. First of all, if you have time, for sure you can participate. Come on the mitzvah tank. Come on Motzei. Come. That's what you're never too old to be a bacher on Motzei. So we invite everybody should come on the mitzvah tank. Come to Motzei with us. Additionally, anyone who would like to partner financially, you can talk to myself, to Rabbi Rosenfeld. Your donations are tax deductible. If you want to give them as a corporate, what do they call that? Corporate is an accountant. Who's an accountant? What do they call that? Corporate something. Sponsorship. Please. Whatever you need. If you need, you work at accountant. If you need a receipt, Achei, you tell me what you want. Rabbi Rosenfeld, who's it works in the account department?
Whatever it is, give.
Shmuley can give you a receipt. I can give you a Achei. We have departments. But the bottom line is now in the Chag Kislev, where we're doing a Carmen Neira parade in Erie, Pennsylvania. We're doing one in Altoona, Pennsylvania. We're calling the newspapers. Obviously, anybody it seems like very far. It's not. It's a couple of hours. Anybody who could put a manure on the car and schlep out the 2 hours to help and make a big Pesum and Misa in places where it hasn't really been done so much before. So, anyways, please join us in any way you can, and with your money, with your time, with your children. The Rebbe doesn't want just your money and your time; he wants your children too. So. Huh? What? Depends. It's open to whoever wants to sponsor this ad. It's true. So, yeah, which one? You did put the shovel. Yeah. Whoever wants to eat or sponsor the potatoes, they're on the back table.
Start with the story, or we'll go into the deep stuff first? Story? Rabbi Silver says to start with the story. So,
we're waiting in suspense for the answer.
we'll get to the answer. But first, a story. It's Motzei Shabbos. Motzei Shabbos are the stories, right? So, we said before that the Mitteler Rebbe, we said that by the Mitteler Rebbe, there's two extremes. On one hand, it's l'mayla mayla and it's you're talking about the highest things. On the other hand, it's the realization of not losing sight of this world. So of this world that how good for the point is that it should express in this world. So, and that's why by the Mitteler Rebbe was this mispar of Mechel Yamale was specifically by the Mitteler Rebbe that he passed away and was born on the same day, because his spirituality was expressed in his physicality. One of the stories that brings out this point, is the story of the Mitteler Rebbe soon after his marriage, I guess at least 9 months. At least 9 months after his marriage. But when the Mitteler Rebbe was a young man, so he lived, even after his marriage, he lived in the home of his father, the Alter Rebbe. He lived on the bottom floor, the Alter Rebbe lived on the top floor. The Mitteler Rebbe got married at 14. Got married at 14 to Rebbe Sheina, and Rebbe she was also 14.
Who's she related?
Nobody. Listen to the story.
Well, once you got married to him, she was
related to him. She was married to him. She was actually one of the few Rebbitzins that wasn't from Beis Harav. That wasn't not only not Beis Harav. There's the story who she was. This is the story. Her father was a Melamed. Her father was a teacher, and as everybody knows, they don't pay teachers very well. They don't pay teachers very well, and it seemed that this problem, not paying teachers very well, was an old problem. They at that time paid teachers even less. So so this guy, this Malamed, I forget what his name was, but he had 5 daughters. 5 daughters in those days, it's like a curse. They got 5 daughters. You need 5 nadunyas, 5 dowries. What are you gonna do? You have 5 daughters on a Malamid's baby salary. So what are you gonna do? So you went to the Alter Rebbe, and he didn't. When he complained to the Alter Rebbe, it's not that how do I marry off my daughters. He says I have 5 daughters at home, and because of that, I'm not able to concentrate in davening and learning Chassidus because of all these distractions. I'm distracted. Of all these things that I'm worried about, all these worries. So what do I do? How can I learn Chassidus if I have a worry? The Alter Rebbe said, I have an eighth for you. I'll take one of your daughters for my son.
And everybody else don't marry
for my son Betel from the Mitteler Rebbe. And the once they see that I take one of your daughters, you'll marry them up very quickly for a much higher fee. Probably they'll pay it.
Pass the dunya on to them.
So she got married. They're both 14. They were 14, and they had children. So one time the Mitteler Rebbe was learning, and the Mitteler Rebbe, when he was people think that the Mitteler Rebbe didn't learn Gemara. He didn't learn Nigla, but there was a secret the Mitteler Rebbe had. He had a secret that he would secretly learn Gemara.
Don't tell me what.
He would learn Gemara every day from 8 to 12 hours a day. It was a secret. The secret. In secret, he would learn eight at least, which means most of the day he spent learning Gemara. He would learn Nigla. And he would learn, like one time, his chaver, an old chavrusa of his came, he saw he was starting the sefta. They came back a few hours later and he saw he was 40 blot in. He learned, he was shocked. How could he laughed. Like, how could it be? He had all busy, lost his money because of that. He laughed at him. But he was a little bit too sick. Well, one time he was going from Shklov, and he told the wagon driver, he told her, you gotta go quick. You gotta go, hit the horses. Hit the horses. We gotta go get back to Liazna, Liadi, wherever they were at the time. And he was like, in the middle of the episode, you gotta rush. So the guy was rushing so much that one of the horses died. And he said, no, you keep on rushing. The kids said they were rushing. The Mitteler Rebbe got to the house. He ran to the house. And what did he do? Grabbed the Gemara. He grabbed the Gemara and standing, he started learning Gemara. So much so that the next day, it was late to Shacharis. So they were trying to find him. And they saw he was still in his coat, still learning Gemara. He pushed it with he didn't learn Torah so much. But he liked Gemara too. The secret about him that he was also going in Nigla. He caught the Nigla. The point that after he became an Rebbe, he made a takana, made a rule that the Chassidim need to study Shulchan Aruch. If you open the Shulchan Aruch, he gives a whole seder how to learn. How to learn? No, he says he's first learn the Gemara, then learn the Torah, then learn the Rishon, then learn. There's a whole seder. There's the Rashi. He got the whole seder. It's about it. So the Chassidim said, "What do you mean Gemara? You're the Rebbe, Chassidus." So he had his Masharis, and I forgot his Masharis name, but he said, "Testify about me that say Eidos that for the past 13 years I learned at least 8 to 12 hours of Gemara a day. 8 to 12 hours of Gemara a day. So you got to learn Gemara also. Which means, and the Rebbe spoke about the story. The Rebbe's point was to bring out that Chassidus and Nigla are not two different, disparate things. It's Torah Achas. One single entity. Which is everything in the middle of Chassidus is also Alpi Nigla as well. Anyway, getting back to the initial story that we were saying. So the Mitteler Rebbe had a child, had a baby. And the baby was in a vigala, was in the bassinet, and the baby was crying, and the baby fell out of the bassinet. The baby fell out of the crib into the bassinet, and it was crying. And the Mitteler Rebbe was so engrossed in his learning He was so engrossed in his learning that he didn't hear the baby. He was wow, amazing. You're learning so much Torah, you don't even hear the baby crying. But the Alter Rebbe, he was upstairs, he was further away, and the Alter Rebbe heard the baby crying, and he went downstairs, picked the baby up, rocked it to sleep. And then the Alter Rebbe told him, as he said, he told him that a Yid, no matter how deep you are in Torah learning, no matter how deep you are in ruchnistic things, you cannot not hear. You can never be too great grow that you never not hear. You should never not hear. Double negative. You should never not hear. Now Yisrael boicha. You should always be able to hear the call, the cry of a Yiddish kid. So you see that on one hand he was tachlis ruchnius, and from then on he learned the lesson. So to the point that there's two stories. The one story that the Rebbe says. There's one story that the Rebbe says by the Rebbe's inaugural Maimer Basel Legani Tashir Aleph in Oizvav. The Rebbe says a story that one time a Chassid came to the Mitteler Rebbe complaining about his avedis. The avedis that people complain about. And the Mitteler Rebbe opened his sleeve and he showed him that that his skin was deteriorated, was rotting on his body. He said all of this is because of your avedis. It pained him so much to the point that
no pressure, but
his son Menachem Nochem said that the Rebbeim by their nature that they were strong like lions. They were mamish. They could live forever. They were mighty people. He said that my father's natural, by Pateva's genes, he was very strong. Could have lived till 100. He said the only reason that he got sick, what was he sick from? Because every tzara of the Chassidim, he mamish took it to heart, and he became sick from the tzaras of the Chassidim. To the point that why did he get sick at the end of his life? Because a woman came to the Mitteler Rebbe. She told him that her son, who had just been drafted to the Tsar's army, was taken as a cantonist, and the pain of that this kid was taken as a cantonist and physically it's dangerous and spiritually dangerous, became so sick that he died from it. That was the catalyst, the physical reason that caused his death was part became sick from worry from a Yiddish person. That as much as holy as we are, if our Chassidus, as if we kach in Chassidus, we learn Chassidus, but if our Chassidus doesn't mean the Chassidus doesn't mean that I go to Motzei, but I take care that I donate to this guy, or I care about the Na Yisrael boicha, that I care about the Yiddish kid, that it's not Chassidus. What are you learning? Because the story is in a Mendel Futterfest. The Mendel, I think when he first came into school or something. So he had pencils, he had pens, coloring. He had colorful. He had more pencils than the other kids. So another kid in the class can borrow your pencils. His brand new pencils. I'm not letting my pencils. No. So the Rebbe in those days they didn't have wellness. They were allowed to hit the kids. So the Rebbe went to
Shul King was on vacation.
Shul King was on vacation. So he went to the Mendel. He said, translate Bereshit. So Bereshit, yeah, whatever. He said, no, Bereshit means when you gave him a flask, and he said, Bereshit means that when your friend asks you to borrow your pencils, you let your borrow, creative. No, slap. But borrow means that when your friend asks to borrow your pencil, you give him a pencil. Elikim, no, frask. No, Elikim means that that if your friend asks to borrow your pencil, you lend him your pencils. I don't know how long this went on. It probably went on to say some bracha, but You got the point. But what's the point? Which means it's not. Which means
Anyway, that's why I don't work for yeshiva schools anymore.
They stopped because they stopped allowing it to hit. So it's like there's a story with Shabbos Hirsch. That Shabbos Hirsch said when the moment that they started giving doctor rabbis, Judaism became sick. The Judaism became sick, but it's not because the doctor rabbi. So it's maybe the same thing. The second they said you're not allowed to hit the kids. I don't know. No, you shouldn't hit the kids. I'm joking. This is off the record. What's the point?
Please note that no children were hurt in the making of this story. Okay.
The making of the story, children. The mental story.
The telling of the story.
You should know, I don't hit. As a teacher, it says the thing. A teacher, I don't hit the kids. But I should maybe, but I don't. Anyway, but what's the point? The point is that the Tifsa and Yanu Chassidus. What's the point of the story? The point is that the Tifsa and Yanu Chassidus, they can't be separated from the Abbas Yisrael. They can't be separated from the Nag Yisrael Boiche. They can't be separated. You koch this, you koch that. I'm too Chassidus I'm too David Ba'avoid. The story with what's the name? Mechader Alter. That Mechader Alter, it was a Chassidic Yid, Mustamo. It was a Mashpia in Tmimim, to the point that when he became old and a little senile, so they wanted to fire him because what are we paying this guy for? He wasn't able to.
What value does he have?
He was not able to teach. He wasn't able to teach at a certain point. So they wanted to fire him. So the Rebbe Hashem said it's worth the 5 ruble that they give him a week or a month or whatever, a week. That just so that the Bachrim should see a tzir of a chassid when he walks to the mikveh or whatever. But you just to see him walking it's already worth the money. But what was the Mechader Alter? The Mechader Alter, he was once davening, and it was in the middle of Birchas Kriya Shema. Or other Gesayis, the story is Mamish in Kriya Shema, Mamish saying Shema. And in the yeshiva, there walked the cobbler. The cobbler walked into the yeshiva to fix the Bachrim's shoes. So in the middle of Birchas Kriya Shema, he called the cobbler and he told him either he said Ba'isius or not Ba'isius or B'nazim. Either way, I'll pay Allah, you're not able to do it. And he told him, this Bach's shoes are ripped. You need to fix this guy's shoes. Right? Fix the guy's shoes. So afterwards, they told Mechader Alter, in the middle of Yichudei Ilah. Yichudei Ilah. That's what the Mitteler Rebbe always talks about. Yichudei Ilah. That's the Mitteler Rebbe's whole thing. Yichudei Ilah, right? Explain Yichudei Ilah. The most time when the Rebbe quoted that he was Yigalite to talk, the Rebbe said you should talk Yichudei Ilah. Not even Yichudei, you should talk Yichudei Ilah. Yichudei Ilah is there's nothing else besides there's no Velt, there's no that the Abraham created a world, and this world is bottom of the Abraham, the Yeshiva, the ego of the world. Yichudei Ilah, Bittul Metzius, it's completely nothing. There's no Velt. So they told him Mechader Alter. They said, Rebbe Chol, in the middle of Yichudei Ilah, you thinking about shoes? He said, Mechader Alter said, Yichudei Ilah is that is Yichudei Ilah. Yichudei Ilah that a bacher, his the bacher's shoes are ripped. That's Yichudei Ilah. Right? And that's why the Mashpia Tmimim. If Mashpia what Chassidus is, if a Chassidus is that my Chassidus is that I'm a big philosopher and I'm very smart, and I can think about the Eibishter and my belly button for that there's no belt. It's not Eibishter. It's not about Eibishter. It's heresy. Yichudei Ilah.
Think about yourself.
But you think about yourself. You think about your own pontification, your own intellectual enjoyment. Yichudei Ilah is that you don't forget that the Yid needs a pair of shoes. That the Yid over there, right, is not Yisrael Boicha. That's the Yid. And by the Mitteler Rebbe, he personified that identity, which on one hand, he taka reached Lamaila Adin Ket. He taka reached that point where there's nothing else. But in that point where there's nothing else, you hear the Yid. Why is that Yichudi Ilah? Yichudi Ilah, because that's the Eibush. Which means in Yichudi Ilah, you reach out to some house. What is the Eibush here? The Eibush also hears the Yid. When you reach the highest point, the Eibush also hears, the Yid, and the Eibush see the Yid not the way they see here how they are down here. We see the Eibush see the Yid down here. It's out the Eibush there in Yichudi Ilah in Atmos. For sure, out us. For sure, bother us. But getting back to the question, what's the question? The question was, I don't know if anybody held cup. Is anybody still here to remember the question? The question was, should I tell people the question? Do people remember?
No, Yankee remembers. He already.
Make you remember the question?
He's ready to look at you like you're going to answer the question.
Why is Kasser to Yud Tes?
How could Yud Kislev be a chana for Yud Kislev? People still remember?
I told you Yankee remembers.
Yankee remembers.
You're
waiting. You know what's going to call on you. So how? So for sure Hanukkah. For sure Hanukkah. So the vote is based on it's a bunch of the votes. It's a long climax, but it's to get to the simple point that they always talk about that. The morning we talk, we have the right? You sat for 2 hours, then you got the mincha, then you got the ma'ariv, whatever, depending on the order of the thing. Yeah. So what do you mean? So why tomorrow I didn't do it all over again? Right? Why do I just did it? I did Yichudi Ilah already today. Why am I doing it tomorrow? So the beer is the part of the beer. The beer is because once you did it already, which means the boundaries. When I break out of boundaries, when I break out of my tzir, when I break out of my prison today, that becomes my tomorrow's prison. My today's geula, my tomorrow's prison. Once I only did it, it's normal, which means it's something that I look at, still sitting and learning Chassidus and sitting and understanding this certain idea, that's a pella, that's something beyond me, that's something that I can't do. Once you get it, it's already normal, it's normal, right? And therefore, by tomorrow, I need to do it again. But not that tomorrow you're doing exactly the same thing again. Tomorrow, you're going to a higher level than the level before. So what's the which means, so it's not such a problem. Which means the achana for Yud Kislev, but Yud Tes Kislev is Yud Kislev. It's teaching us a very deep point. What's the point? Which means, right now, I need to go and break out of the boundaries of the Mitteler Rebbe's boundaries. Today, what I'm holding out today, I can't be. For me, it's good enough. I'm going to break out of the boundaries of the outside. Go to prison a little bit. I need to go to prison, the ultimate prison, the prison, Mitteler Rebbe's prison, the prison of the Choyves Hanar, that was all my vastness of Chassidus. That's in prison. That's prison. But then tomorrow, that's still in prison. And it's not only still in prison, I didn't even start yet. I'm still in the prison of the Alter Rebbe. Right? That's what Geula is. Geula, how can you do for Nun Allah from Yovelis? Because the paratz of today is just in the Kuda tomorrow. Your biggest Rechoivis, I know, you get the Rechoivis, you get the wow, so much Chassidus. Tomorrow, it's Teva. It's already normal. So L'chaim, we should talk about Ufaratz in limited Chassidus, darker Chassidus. As you realize that all of the different Chassidus, and we're all still the Achana for Yud Tes Kislev. And we're at the Yemei Achana, just the bris. We just had the birth. We didn't even have the Achnasus on the Shama yet. Which means all the Tifkite, we're talking about Chassidus, it's just the birth of a Chassid. We're yet to start. We're just Sukkot, the first day of Sukkot. We need to get to the point of Chassoi. We need to get to the Bris Milah of Yud Tes Kislev. So we need to realize the point. What's the point? The point is that Mitteler Rebbe Pasha wanted that the Mashiach, the Rebbe's last Sicha, thus far, B'chaim Chayusei B'al Madain of Tes-Yud Kislev, the Rebbe said the most famous cliche. Everyone knows the cliche. Everyone knows the beginning of the cliche. We know the beginning of the sentence. The only thing, Mashiach is here. Only thing we do, the Rebbe said, all we need to do is open our eyes. Right? We need to open our eyes. But you ask the average guy, how do you open your eyes? I don't know how to open my eyes. But everybody knows the Rebbe said to open our eyes. So you say, how are we going to open our eyes? This one's going to say, you say Yechis 30 times, it's going to open your eyes. This is going to say, if you
34 times.
stand on your head, it's going to open your eyes. But the Rebbe Pashut says, the Rebbe says at the end of the sentence, the Rebbe tells you of the simple ingredient to open your eyes. The Rebbe says how to do it. Open your eyes through learning Chassidus b'shufi. Through learning an abundance of Chassidus, that's how you open your eyes. That said the Befrat by the Mitteler Rebbe, the way of Rechovis HaNa'ar of Bina, that open your eyes because you have an idea in Chachma, it's only Nekuda. It's great. But it's Chachma. Chachma is a Barak Maverick, right? It's a flash of intuition, but tomorrow it's gone. I forgot. I don't get it, right? But what Bina? When you learn Chassidus, Rechovis HaNa'ar, you learn Chassidus b'shufi. You learn Chassidus in depth in a way of Bina that you get it. That's your paradigm. That creates your rubric. How do you see the world? You see the world through the words you read. If you read the newspaper every day, you fill your eyes with schmutz, right? You fill your eyes with sheker, right? If that's how the words you see, that's your glasses. Letters are like, that's what you put. Those are the mental letters, right? The mental glasses are the letters we put in front of our eyes. And the Rebbe says that the collected by Yetzei, the galas, it's the same word, which means by Lag BaOmer, Gal Eina, which is this week's Shvi, which is also connected to Mitteler Rebbe. The rocks, on one hand, it's Gal Eina, open my eyes, so and show me the amazing things of your Torah. Then we say Gal is a pile of rocks that separate. So which one is it? So, but the truth is that they're the same rocks. The question is in order. If you have a bunch of words, right? You put a pile of words. So words could either obfuscate, right? You have you read academia, or listen to politicians talk. They're talking a bunch of words, but it doesn't mean anything. The more you listen to them, the more you're confused about anything, because they're just a bunch of words that can mean a million things at the same time, right? That's the point of the words. The point of the word is just to make you sound like you're saying something, but it's to confuse you, right? So those are words those are letters. You're using words, but those are letters that the more letters you have, the less you know, right? The more you can't see anything. The more you can't see what's right in front of your nose, right? But what the Oisid Chassidus? The Oisid Chassidus is the same letters, but they're in order, right? When you read the Oisid in order, you put words, letters, a lot of letters, right? But the more letters you put around your head and in your head, that changes the way you see the world. That's the opening your eyes. Which means the Rebbe says that Mashiach is here. Mashiach is here. The Rebbe that says Mashiach is here. The Shulchan is set. The Yayin Mishum is the Leviathan is the Sharabah. We even have Mashiach. Mashiach is right here. Only thing is we don't see it. But why? So what do we see? Because every human beings, we know that the way we see the world is not with our eyes; it's our interpretation of reality. But if we say, I can't see it. I can't see it. Yeah, because it's there's a simple prescription. The Rebbe gave a simple prescription in that mimer, in the sichel, not based. That sichel, the Rebbe said, shaykh to noshim, anoshim, men and women, shaykh to everybody to learn Chassidus b'shufi. Which means it's not epis. We think, who can learn Chassidus? You have an episode of Yale Khan. He can sit and learn Chassidus. You can have episode. I don't know. Some guy is very smart. You can learn Chassidus. Never even make the point in that sicha, that Chassidus is in every language, to the English. The point that Goyim can understand Chassidus. That never says that Esav understands Chassidus now. It's understandable. It's if you just read it and change your perspective of reality. Learn it with spend time learning Chassidus. And when you learn Chassidus, your reality will change. And when you talk to this guy, you'll hack a chainik with people. That's the two. Two people will talk in the street, and they're going to talk Chassidus. They're going to rant Chassidus because what is there to talk about? When you're obsessed with something, the simin to know if somebody is really obsessed with something is if that's what you rant about. Until you rant about something, you could maybe you like it, but ranting in the simin that and it's not like people who talk about they talk about football or sport. They don't know what they're talking about. They rant. They're just like, oh, this guy, that guy. They know this. They don't really know. Whatever they talk. Which but the more you talk, it says that's how you talk about something. Two people are talking. That expands the oasis. That expands. The hardest rivers clap. It broadens the river. So say two people speak. Each oasis, you add it, which means I get your oasis, you get my oasis, and I argue with the oasis, it makes even more oasis. It makes even more words. And then when you cook in it and you talk about it, not because you don't know what you're talking about. But what else are they going to talk about? What are they going to talk about besides the Mulvadoi? There's nothing else besides the Mulvadoi. You can tell me something else to talk about?
In other words, if you know Chassidus, you should talk Chassidus. If you don't know Chassidus, you should
it's not about knowing. That's the point. It's not about knowing. It's like
still talk
some
Chassidus.
people, they're shy. They're bad. I don't know what I'm talking about. Somebody asked you to know what you're talking about.
Stopped you before.
Yeah, stopped me before. It's like if you stop me when people know when they talk about this president should do, what that president should do. They should go with the guys. They shouldn't go. Everybody has opinions about whatever you should be doing, right? But you know what you're talking about. Right? You read some article and you all of a sudden, that thing in that mind. It's not that you know what you're talking about. It's interesting.
So if the 400-pound guy, you're saying they should have ran this play, they should have ran that play. You're looking like you can't run the cloud. What are you talking? They should have run this play. So you never played a day of football in your life.
The guy can barely put his pants on. He doesn't barely know what it is. But okay. What's the point?
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Because it's exciting. Which means the derech to bring Mashiach, the Rebbe says, is already living Mashiach. Because what is B'schor Shel Inyan Yeda Mehusa? The way to bring it is through it. Mashiach is Chassidus. Mashiach is the state. Umala ha'aretz de'ez Hashem. V'lo yiyeh eisek kol ha'olam kuloi elo l'das Hashem uvad. The world, the preoccupation of the world will be only to know God. So why start then? Right? If you go to a guy, he says, I want Mashiach. Like, you want to learn a mimer? Then no. I'm just like a mimer. I can't. It's too. Like, you don't want Mashiach then. What do you think you're gonna do for the next? No. You're gonna sit and learn Chassidus. You're gonna learn about the Eibusher.
Yeah, it tells you. Come fishing. No. First, I'm going to come a fisherman, right, and then I'll come fishing with you.
The nekuda is that we should learn it not because we know what we're talking about, or not because we know anything, but because that's what there is. Because Chassidus is good, the Eibusher is good, the Tamiru Uki Teva Vaya for Zuchas and the Eibusher is good. So when we do that, we do not even just a taste. It was by the Shlabin and Chasana. By the Shlabin and Chasana, the Mitteler Rebbe said Chassidus. Or the story to leave, but the one of the stories there was Menachem Nachum of Nachum Shenabeler. That the Nachum Shenabeler, he said that it says take, what's the lashon of the pasuk? Take a ma'at mayim. Take, what's the lashon of the pasuk? Yukach no ma'at mayim v'rochatzu ragleichem. So he says, take a little bit of water and wash your feet. So he says, so the Nachum Shenabeler said, the same thing with Chassidus. It's enough. Yukach no ma'at mayim. It's enough, just a little bit of water. So the Rebbe said, yeah, that the Avram said that because he thought they were Arabs. Arvayim to Arabs. Then Yukach no ma'at. For a year, a lot of water. So the Nachum Shenabler, he said a little bit of like offended that the chutzpah, but he said I made with the emes. Since he means he means that with the emes he's not gonna have a kapeda on it. Not because he sees he really means it. But for Chabad Chassidus, we know that Yukach Nomat Mayim, that there's a taste of Chassidus that we learned before davening. I come, that I open up a mimer and I read the first five words, 5 lines. I say, oh, I was going to Chassidus today. It's good for Arabs, but that's good for a guy. But for a Yid, especially before Mashiach comes, we have a sach vaser. We have a lot of water. Especially the Rebbe makes the point. There's a sichel the Rebbe makes the point where the Rebbe says that according to the Rambam, according to the Shita of the Rambam, it says Ein bein olam hazer liyemois Mashiach el shibun malchus bilvad. There's no difference between this world and the time Messianic era, except for Shibun Malchus. It means that there's no miracles. It needs to be natural. The Rebbe says if we would all of a sudden mitamo, all of a sudden you need that's what we do is learn Chassidus the whole day. It would be like breaking nature. It wouldn't be normal. It would be. It says in order. Therefore, we need to have a chana for Mashiach. We need to normalize. We need to normalize. We need to normalize that we're Chassidus just to cover Chassidus. Especially the Rebbe in the later years, he spoke about something with the void of the Mitteler Rebbe. The Rebbe said by the Alter Rebbe, the void was midos, which means that the moichin was tzorech midos, which means the others boinos. I think about an idea is to change my heart. But not moichin for themselves, which means to think about an abstract idea of Chassidus itself. If it's not going to affect me, then what are you thinking about? Think about something that's going to change your life. Right? The point of Chassidus to change is that it. But having said that, already now we're at the level of keini kini v'kanmoini, that the avoidance have moichin for itself. That not the Chassidus, the avoidance have moichin, the avoidance of Chassidus is not only lahafeichas halev. It's not only to transform your heart, which means that I could change and be different, be better, whatever. But no, that my brain should be soaked and conquered by God. And all I can think about it, all that makes sense to me is the Eibusher, intellectually. Which means it's not only for serving. The Chassidus is not serving an end. The end is don't ask what Chassidus can do for you. Ask what you could do for Chassidus. Ask how you could drown in it. Which means that's the point. To drown in Me'at Dasatoy. The drown into the Mayim She'elam Sof until we cease to be. So l'chaim, we should take a cease to be a little bit. The soaking Chassidus.
Want to say we're for a shlucha in Virgin Islands. Her name is Hanya. God's bracha the Varleya Shabbat for Shlema. Together with Rabbi Michasia, Yolei Ben Esther Itka.
And we want to welcome Ben Diamond. Good to see you again. formal part of the Farbrengen.
You didn't tell them that ending it.
Ending the formal part of the Farbrengen.